Kakadosh, Boker Tov. We are on Masechet Chagigah Yudchet Amud Aleph 18a1. The Gemara says, right, as follows: V'Resh Lakish Amar, Resh Lakish, he's going to give us another drasha that how do we know that there's such a concept as tashlumin, right? What does it mean tashlumin? So we have, how do we know there's another concept that we have to do, that we're going to do tashlumin for the 7 days, which means if you didn't bring the korban, the sacrifice on the first day, you could still bring it the rest of the days. So it says v'Chag HaKatzir. What does it mean Chag HaKatzir? Ezu Chag shata chogeg v'kotzer bo. You remember this question? This Gemara, we already learned this. That means which Chag can you come and you reap? Right? Remember the Sukkot is Chag Asif, the Chag that you collect everything inside your house. Chag HaKatzir is Shavuot. Now the question is though, which Chag can you reap on Chag? It makes sense. So if Omer is Yatzeret, it has to be Yatzeret. Eimat, I would say, right, but when are you going to come and start reaping it? If you're going to tell me on Yom Tov you're going to start reaping, are you allowed to reap on Yom Tov?
No.
Right? You don't have to check that. It's obviously that you're not allowed to reap on Yom Tov. You understand? So he says, Ela lava rather, tashlumin, to do a tashlumin. Okay, so therefore it has to do with it. From this pasuk, you're able to learn that there is a concept of tashlumin.
When you say tashlumin, that's makeup.
Amar Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, Ela me'ata, 1 second, let us stop, let's pause. Chag Asif, what was Chag Asif? Sukkot. Ezu Chag sheyesh bo asifa. What is the Chag that you're going to gather everything together? Aviyom is the Chag HaSukkot, that's Chag HaSukkot. Eimat, so now, when are you going to do that? If you're going to tell me it's on Yom Tov, that you're allowed to gather everything together on Yom Tov, melacha b'Yom Tov, it's a melacha. You're not allowed, one of the melachot is me'amer. Me'amer is you're not allowed to come and gather all the fruits or vegetables that are scattered around and things like that. So that's called asif. Asifa is to bring everything in, to gather in during Chag or Shabbat, or making piles. It's me'amer. So you're not allowed to do that on Shabbat or Yom Tov. So now, if you're not allowed to come, right? Not something fell. If something fell anyway on Shabbat, you're not allowed to have it because perot noshrin. It's gizram. If you're going to come, you're going to pluck it off on Shabbat and Yom Tov. Forget about it. It's already on the floor. It's already on the floor. It's not that it fell on Shabbat. They're all over the place. I'm not allowed on Shabbat to come and to start making a pile or gathering them together or on Yom Tov. The same halacha applies. Right? No. You're not allowed. Which one? Okay. So melacha b'Yom Tov Yishari, is it permitted to do it in melacha on Yom Tov? Obviously not. Ela b'chol moed, we're talking about chol moed. So he says b'chol moed Yishari is allowed to, you're allowed to do melacha on chol moed. You're not allowed to do melacha on chol moed. Ela chag haba mizman asifa. It's a chag that comes during the time of the gathering. Hachanami, so to hear when it says chag hakatzir, it's a chag haba mizman haketzira, which means it's not that it's a day that you're permitted to do reaping. It's a chag that is done during reaping. So therefore, the Gemara is going to ask against Resh Lakish, why are you telling me that? How do you know you're allowed to do tashlumin? Because the Chag HaKatzir, it's a Chag which you're allowed to do during the Katzir time. What about Chag Asif? And therefore, sure, you're not allowed to do Asifa, not on Shabbat, not on Yom Tov, and not on Chol HaMoed. So what does it mean, Chag Asif? A Chag that comes during the Asif time, during the time when they do it. But now that you're actually doing it, so too Chag HaKatzir is during the time when they're reaping. Now that you're actually doing the reaping, so don't bring me a proof that you could do tashlumin in 7 days from Chag HaKatzir. That's incorrect. But what about Chag Asif? So says the Gemara, so but according to everybody, it comes out that you're not allowed to do melacha on Chol HaMoed. Because remember, we're not talking about Yom Tov Sukkot. We're talking about even the Chol HaMoed of Sukkot. Because Yom Tov Sukkot, for sure, you're not allowed to. But even on Chol HaMoed, exactly, even on Chol HaMoed, you're not allowed to. And how do you know this? The Tanu Rabbanan was, we learned it right at Chag HaMatzot Tishmon Shivat Yamim. Chag HaMatzot, you're going to watch over it for 7 days. Limed al Chol HaMoed Shasu B'Siyam L'Chad Yivru Shia. So Yeshua says, we learn from here that since it says that Chag HaMatzot Tishmon for 7 days, you're not allowed to do melacha also on Chol HaMoed. Because it says you have to watch it for 7 days. What do you mean you have to watch it for 7 days? Right? Here we're talking about, okay, according to Tosafot, he says the Yisur of melacha is only the Rabbanan. And the Gemara here is only like making like an asmachta, which means it's not really mamash doraita, okay? But Rabbi Yonatan Omer, Eno Tzedich. Rabbi Yonatan says, I don't need the pasuk. It's a kavachomer. Just like Rishon v'Shvi'i, she'en kedusha lifneihen u'lacharehen, asur b'asiyah melacha. The first day of Yom Tov and the 7th day of Yom Tov. There's no kedushat Yom Tov before the first day, and there's no kedushat Yom Tov after the last day. And still it's asur b'asiyah melacha because it's Yom Tov. So Chol HaMoed, that you do have a kedusha, right? That you do have a kedusha before, and you have a kedusha afterwards. Isn't it halacha that it should be prohibited in asiyat melacha? Which means, I think what he's trying to say is it's a din in the day. What do you mean din on the day? Meaning you have the first day of Yom Tov. If the first day of Yom Tov there's no kedusha before it, and still it's a surah to do melacha, or the last day of Yom Tov there's no kedusha afterwards. Afterwards it's shulchan.
Is there to do malacha the day before Yom Tov?
No, it's mutter. Right?
How is this a kal v'chomer? It makes no sense.
The kal v'chomer is basically saying like this: if on the first day of Yom Tov, is there kedusha before the first day of Yom Tov?
Yeah, well, who cares? There's kedusha on Yom Tov.
1 minute, and therefore it's still prohibited on Yom Tov.
Yeah, but
Yes.
This is a terrible.
Richard, this. The 6 days of Bereshit are going to be mochiach keneged the kal v'chomer. Why? There's kedusha before, and there's kedusha afterwards. Umutarim b'asiyat melacha. Every Shabbat you have that. Every Shabbat, the day before is there's no kedusha. Shabbat is prohibited. The next Shabbat is prohibited, even though the day afterwards is permitted, and in between it's all permitted. So therefore, a regular Shabbat is a question against this kal v'chomer, right? That's why you do not just say it's like I've got a beautiful proof connected. Every regular Shabbat is already connected. You understand? That's how you push off a kal v'chomer. Yeah. Fine, you think about it, but it's not a sur b'asiyat melacha. We're looking for something that has to be a sur in doing melacha. Yeah, no, Abdullah, you like what he said. You have until the third day until you're able to still say Abdullah from the last week. Once it's then you go to the next week. So, 1 second, he says 1 second. It's not the best disproof rebuttal. Why? During the weekday, there's nothing. It's completely mundane. So you cannot compare to me from one Shabbat to another Shabbat that Erev Shabbat there was no Kedusha, that the Sunday after the second Shabbat there's no Kedusha, but the entire week in the middle it's mutar and doing melacha. He says 1 second, but during that week, do you even bring a Korban Musaf? There's nothing. It's a regular weekday. Here, Chol HaMoed, which is between one Yom Tov and another Yom Tov, there is a certain aspect of Kedusha. There's Korban Musaf. So don't give me a rebuttal that is so, cheap, as they say. It's not true. You can't compare every regular Shabbat. So says Gemara, okay, fine. What about Rosh Chodesh? Rosh Chodesh yochiach sheyesh bo korban musaf umutar v'siyam melacha. Rosh Chodesh, which is coming up this Thursday and Friday, Chazak Baruch. So this Thursday and Friday, right? You're looking it up, yeah. So this Thursday and Friday, right, is Rosh Chodesh. On Rosh Chodesh, is there korban musaf? Yes. Is it mutar to do melacha on Rosh Chodesh? Yes. So therefore, don't tell me then because of the korban musaf. No, that's something different. There was a minhag. Because of tikkun and that. But it's not a sur b'asiyat melacha. So therefore, the korban musaf, if that does not cause that there's an isur of doing melacha, so what do I care that you have korban musaf? So don't worry. Chol HaMoed, you have korban musaf. Chazak Baruch. And therefore, right? And therefore, what? You didn't prove to me anything. Okay. So says the Gemara, Male Rosh Chodesh. Shein karui mikra kodesh. Tomar bechol moed shekarui mikra kodesh. He says 1 second. It's still not a good proof. Why? Rosh Chodesh is different because we already knew that Rosh Chodesh was always going to be permitted in melacha because Rosh Chodesh is never called mikra kodesh, right? It's not called mikra kodesh, but chol moed is called mikra kodesh. So therefore, since it's called mikra kodesh, it's a din shasur b'asiyat melacha. So it's a din that it's going to be a b'asiyat melacha. Do you know that even halacha l'maaseh? I still remember. I think there's this. I think it's Rav Bakshi Doron. Rav Eliyahu Bakshi Doron. He has a shoot called Binyan Av. Eliyahu Bakshi. Yeah. So in the shoot of Binyan Av, there he's got an entire Hakira. Right? Is Chol HaMoed like Yom Tov, but just it's mutar to do certain melachot, or is it like a weekday, but it's just prohibited to do certain things on it like a Yom Tov? Meaning, what is the ikar? What's the nafkamina? One of the practical differences is, do you have to wear Yom Tov clothing in Chol HaMoed? Because if you say it's a Yom Tov, but just you're permitted to doing certain aspects of melacha, so you should still have big day Yom Tov. The only thing is, you're allowed to turn on a light, you're allowed to drive a car, you're allowed to do certain things, not everything. Even writing, there's certain, I mean, it's not everything's permitted. There's certain halachot. If you're going to tell me it's 100% a weekday, but just certain things have elements of a chag, so then maybe I could wear weekly clothing. You understand? So you see that there's here he's saying, don't bring me a proof against because of Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh was never called Mikra Kodesh. It's not called a Yom Tov. Here, Chol Hamoed is called a Mikra Kodesh. That's why we say on Yom Tov. On Yom Tov we say Yom Tov Mikra Kodesh Zeh, and in Chol Hamoed we just say Yom Mikra Kodesh Zeh because it's Mikra Kodesh. It's a day of holiness, so it's not the same as Rosh Chodesh. Don't bring me a proof from Rosh Chodesh. So now says the Gemara, Tanya Yidach, we learned another Braita, Kol Melechet Avodah, so you're not allowed to do any Melacha, right? So he says, it says in the Pasuk Mefurash, you're not allowed to do Melacha for 7 days, and therefore Chol Hamoed is prohibited in doing Melacha. Divrei Rabbi Yosef Gileh. These are the words of Rabbi Yosef Gileh. Rabbi Kiva says, you don't need this. It says, Ele Moadei Hashem. What do we mean that this is the Chagim of Hashem? What is the Torah talking about? If it's written on the first day of Sukkot, it's already written by Yom Rishon Shabbaton. If it's on the 8th day of Sukkot, which Shemini Atzeret, it's already written Shabbaton. So therefore, it's only written in Katuv Midaber Ela Bechol Moed to teach you that you're not allowed to do Melacha on Chol Moed.
I realize the Gemara it's just beyond my head.
Okay.
Akiva makes sense to me.
Right, Rabbi Akiva to you, yeah?
Very good.
Yeah, very good. So it says the Gemara. Okay, Tanya Idach, right? We come and we learned another Braita. Sheshet Yamim Tochal Matzot of Yom HaShvi Atzeret Hashem. It says for 6 days you're going to eat matzot, and the 7th day it's going to be Atzeret. Right? What does this mean exactly? So it comes and it says like this. It says there's a Hekesh of this first 6 days of Pesach, okay, and then which also includes Chol Hamoed, because obviously Pesach is not 7 days. It's actually there's Chol Hamoed in between. There's only 1 day of Yom Tov. In the diaspora, we do 2 days, but really it's bemet 1 day. So it says the Gemara, Mashavi Yatzur, just like the Shemini Atzeret, it's written Notas Melacha. So to the rest of the 6 days, it's going to be Yatzurin. You're not allowed to do Melacha. If you're going to tell me you're not allowed to do any Melacha, so to the 6 days, you're not allowed to do any Melacha. Only the 7th day, it's going to be Yatzur in every single Melacha, but not the 6 previous days. It's not on every single Melacha. It's the Yom Asur. So it comes out that the rabbis are given this power to tell us which days are going to be asur melacha and which days which are going to be chol hamoed, which is going to be permitted in melacha, which melacha is asura and which melacha is muteret. So the rabbis are the ones which are telling us this melacha is permitted on chol hamoed, this melacha is prohibited, and which days are permitted, which days are prohibited. Okay, fine. And that's why there comes all the entire concept of the Aved, if something is lost or things like that, that it would, if you don't do it now, you will be able to do it on Chol Hamoed. So all that comes out based upon what we just said right now. Says the Gemara, now, do you know what happens right now if it came out on Shabbat? So on Sunday, right, if Shavuot comes out on Shabbat, so on Sunday was the Yom Tevuach. So says the rabbis, even though Sunday is the Yom Tevuach, the Yom they do the Shechita on the Korban Chagigah, right? Because you can't do it on Shabbat, on the Olat Riyah and all these things on Shabbat. So it says over here, Mutarim be'esveh v'ta'anit shelo lekayem divrei ha'omrim atzeret le'achar Shabbat. He comes and he says, but you're allowed to do a sped and ta'anit on that Sunday. Why? To take out of the hearts of the tzedokim. What does that mean? If you remember the tzedokim, they learn that it says in the Torah, Mimachorat Shabbat tispiru 50 yom. From the day after Shabbat, you're going to count 50 days. So for them, Shavuot, you always start counting for Shavuot the day after Shabbat. So according to that, Shavuot will always come out on Sunday, which is 50 days later, because it's a 7-week cycle. So if you start on Sunday, it's going to start on Sunday. So it's going to finish on Sunday. So therefore, Shavuot always comes out on Motzei Shabbat Sunday for the how do you call it, for the Tzedokim. This year, it also comes out Motzei Shabbat on Sunday. So he says over here, however, though, in this case, since it came out on Shabbat, but then it was pushed off to Sunday, so here we are going to be permitted to do Ta'anit and Espedim on that Sunday. Why? To take away from the Tzedokim, the Sadducees, because they say that it's always, we learn Machorat Shabbat means the day after Yom Tov, because Yom Tov is also called Shabbat. Okay, that's why Machorat Shabbat, it's the day after Shabbat, that's why we start counting Sefirat Omer, the day after the first day of Yom Tov. That's how we start. So says the Gemara, V'atanya, we learn to the Braita, Maaseh unet al Kesa Alexa Belud. Alexa. Yeah, Alexa died in Lud. Yeah, that's what it says here. Yeah, V'nichnesu kol Yisrael lesofdo. And all of Israel, right, they came in to do Hespedim on Alexa. Yeah, so they did Hesped. Yeah, they did it on Alexa. But Rabbi Tarfon did not let them do a Hesped, the eulogy. Why? because it was a Yom Tov of Shavuot. So you see that they didn't let. So says the Gemara, Yom Tov, so you really think Yom Tov? Obviously not Yom Tov. If it's Yom Tov, nobody's going to let you to start doing a stedim on Yom Tov. Eulogies, you never do on Yom Tov. So even Yom Tov, Bichal, would they come and do it? Because it's Yom Tov, it's the day of the slaughtering of the Yom Tov. It's not really Bemet, it was Yom Tov. So says the Gemara, it's not a question. Kam Yom Tov shechal yot echad b'Shabbat. One is talking about Yom Tov that comes out on Sunday. The Kam Yom Tov shechal yot b'Shabbat. One of them talking about it comes out on Shabbat. Meaning like this: if Yom Tov comes out like this year, that it actually comes out on Sunday, then for sure it's asur. Also in Ta'anit, also in Esped, for sure. There's nothing to talk about. We're talking about here that it comes out on Shabbat, and then you're doing only the slaughtering on Sunday. There it's going to be permitted to do it in order to take out of the heart of the Sadducees.
Sort of when someone passes away on
Says Yudchetam Bet 18b, right? It says over here like this: Chulin. Okay, sorry. So notim yadayim lechulin ul maaser velitruma ul kodesh. Right? Let's go one by one. First of all, let's give an introduction. Chulin is food. Exactly. So first of all, chulin is food which does not have any kedusha. Maaser sheni is when you're going to. Where's your shirt, Ronen? Maaser sheni. Yeah. It's the second 10% that you give off when and years.
1, 3,
1, 2, 4, and 5.
First 10%.
Right? No. It's the second 10%. I apologize, Richard. The first 10% is Maaser Rishon. Truma is what you separate from the tivua and the perot, and it's eaten only by the kohanim, right? What you separate from the grain and from the fruits, only the kohanim. Kodesh or any type of korbanot. Chatat is the waters of the mei chatat, which is of the paraduma. Remember, you have the paraduma, which is the heifer, the red heifer that you come and you, how do you call it? You use it in order to purify people from being tamemet, from being impurified from dead bodies. So therefore, you're going to sprinkle it upon them. So now it says the Mishnah, notzlin layadayim, right? Lechurin u'maaser u'tuma. Somebody that wants to come and wants to meet a second chulin. Chulin was mundane food which is not truma, not masro, no nothing.
Also
right?
Maaser Rishon.
Also maaser sheni and truma. It's already enough with netilat yadayim that he's going to pour a revi'it, right, on from a utensil, and he does not need to do tevilat yadayim. He just needs to do netilat yadayim. Ul kodesh. Now, when a person is coming to eat kodesh, which is shlamim, chatat, asham, all those things, matbilin, it's not enough netilat yadayim. Netilat yadayim is you pour water onto it. Tevilat yadayim, matbilah is like a tevila. What's tevila or tevilat kelim? You're immersing it inside. So netilat yadayim is I take a cup and I'm pouring it on top. Tevilat yadayim is I have to immerse my hands inside. Matbilin et yadayim, but it has to be in a mikveh of 40 seah. Ul chatat, to do with chatat, with mei chatat, im nitmeu yadav, if your hands, right, become tameh, right, with one of the things which is mitameh et yadayim, nitma kol gufo, the entire body becomes tameh, and therefore the entire body needs tevilah. It's not only just the hands that need tevilah, the entire body needs tevilah. Another halacha, okay? Next part of the Mishnah says, Taval lechulin, v'uchsak lechulin, asul maaser. If you right now, you went and you did, right, you wanted to purify your hands for chulin. Okay? So remember, the chulin is the lowest level, right? And then it was uchzak lechulin. You're not allowed to eat maaser sheni with this tevilah. Right? This is also a chumra de Rabbanan because the midoraita, if you already did a tevilah mikveh, you're pure even without any kavanot, right? So, but he says the rabbis instituted two different halachot. Number one, it needs kavanah to become pure, and number two, that if you had kavanah for one of the levels of kiddusha, it does not help for a higher level. Okay, so there's two different institutions. You need kavanah plus does not help for a higher level. Okay, taval lemaaser v'uchzak lemaaser asul l'truma. So now again, you went and you did tevilah for maaser, and you had the kavanah for maaser. It's not going to help you for teruma. Taval l'truma v'uchzak l'truma asul l'kodesh. Taval l'kodesh v'uchzak l'kodesh asul l'chatat. Again, you're going up the list.
Right.
It's not. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Now taval lechamur mutar bekal. Now obviously the opposite does work. Meaning if you went and you did tevilah for the stricter one, let's say you did it for the chatat, so then it helps for the kodesh. You did for the kodesh, it helps for teruma. You did for teruma, it helps for the maaser. Right? Very, very good. So taval velo uchzak. However, though, what happens if a person came, he did tevilah in a mikveh kasher, but he did not have kavanah for tevilah for tara at all, meaning he didn't have any kavanot at all. there kilu lo taval. It's like he didn't do anything. Because again, as we already mentioned, the rabbis instituted that it had to be also kavanah and also for the same stature of what you really want to do. Okay. Next, another ma'ala, a third ma'ala for kedusha, which is one above each other. Bigdei amaaretz midras leprushin. The clothing of an amaaretz is a midras for prushin. What does that mean? Prushin are people that they're segregated. What do you mean they're segregated? They eat chulin with tahara, right? Which means that even the chulin that they're coming and they're eating, which remember, chulin, you don't need to eat chulin with tahara. You could eat chulin and you're 100% tameh. But the prushin, the separated ones, they used to eat chulin also when they were tahor. Meaning they used to make, so therefore it says the clothing of an amaaretz is considered tumat midras for prushin. Remember, tumat midras is anything that you're going to lie down upon. Okay, it's going to become tameh.
The same if you have 10 mattresses.
Exactly, it's going to be in the bottom.
Oy,
So it says v'chem bigdei prushin. The same halacha applies to bigdei prushin. Is a midras for ochle truma, for the people that eat truma. Because remember, the prushin we're eating chulin b'tara, but that's still not on the same level as truma. Truma is a higher level, right? Bigdei ochle truma is a midras for the ochle kodesh, and the bigdei ochle kodesh is a midras for the chatan. So again, as each level keeps on going up, the clothing of the other person is still considered tumat midras for him, because obviously they weren't on the same level. Because as the levels kept on going up of kedusha, right? That's why I had to continue going up. Yosef ben Yoezer haya chasid shebekeuna. You hear? There are kohanim that they're chasidim. His name was Yosef ben Yoezer, right? He was a chasid in the keuna, and he was always careful in every tumah, even for eating truma. Now, even though v'ayta mitpachato midras lekodesh, but his mitpachat, which he used to come and wipe his hands like his towel, was a midras for kodesh. Yochanan ben Gudgeda ya ochel al taharat hakodesh kol yomav. You know that Yochanan ben Gudgeda used to eat on taharat hakodesh all his life. Ve'ayita mitpachato midras lechatat, but still his mitpachat was a midras for chatat. Now we're going to start the Gemara. So the Gemara now says as follows: Chulin u'maaser mibau netilat yadayim. Ask the Gemara, I don't understand you. Since when does chulin and maaser mean netilat yadayim? We started our Mishnah by saying if you did netilat yadayim for chulin, and then if you did it for maaser, and you continue going up the list. Since when does chulin and maaser mean netilat yadayim? Or meaning we have a contradiction. Hatruma ve'abikurim chayvim alehem, which means truma and bikurim. If right now a stranger eats them, he's going to be chayav, right? What is he chayav? Chayav mita b'dei shamayim. That means if a regular person eats bikurim, which are the first fruits, or truma, he's chayav mita b'dei shamayim. But it'll only be eaten by the kohen. The chomesh, not only that, he has to pay back the principal, meaning the value, plus a fifth as well. The asur lezarim, and it's prohibited for zarim, meaning it's not allowed to be eaten by anybody which is a zar. Okay, obviously there's no chidush in this. We already just learned this, but it's just the general rules of truma bikurim. Then nichse kohen. These are actually property which belongs to the kohen. Ve'olim be'echad u'mea. To annul it, it's not annulled in shishim. Usually when we're talking about meat, milk, things like that, batel be'shishim. Your son in shishim. It's batel be'echad u'mea. You need 101 to annul it. Okay, utuni netilat yadayim. Right, you need netilat yadayim. Ve'herev shemesh and herev shemesh. Hare'elu v'truma bikurim. Now this is all to do with truma and bikurim, but not by maaser. Or the more so chulin. So therefore, you see from here that there's no chiyuv of netilat yadayim for maaser and chulin. Okay, because these things needed netilat yadayim, but and head of shemesh, but not anything else. So says the Gemara, kashi maaser maaser kashi chulin. It's a contradiction of maaser maaser. In our Mishnah, it said for maaser you need netilat yadayim, and also chulin and chulin. So says the Gemara, bishma maaser maaser lo kashi. I could say it's not a contradiction of maaser maaser. Why? Rabbanan. It's a machlok between Rabbi and Rabbanan. Titra mazmurim to the Mishnah para. Kol hataum biyat mayim midivre sofrim mitamet hakol shechosel truma umutar lechulin umaaser. Right? It says like this: anything which needs water, which means anything which needs tevilah and mikveh, which is the Rabbanan, which means mina Torah you're tahor. But the rabbis were the one that instituted. They have to do tevilah, so it's going to be mitameh kodesh uposel truma. So therefore, it's going to be mitameh kodesh, and it's going to be posel teruma. Okay, remember that whenever it says metameh and posel, it's a difference of what's happening. Why? Because Chachamim, they gave it a din sheni letuma. So therefore, if it touches kodesh, it makes it tameh. Right? Making something tameh, you have to burn it. It's completely disqualified. Now that is going to make it a kodesh into a shlishi. Now, the word tameh means that it's tameh, and it could still be metameh other things. Pasul means it's disqualified, but it's not contaminated, means that the buck stops here. It cannot continue contaminating other things. It becomes tameh, but it does not continue contaminating other things.
Yeah, these are not
Okay.
simple rules.
Okay, we had this already. If you remember, Dr. John Paul, he gave us a list of the different levels of tumah, right? When we learned tumat kohen in Psachim, right? If the doctor remembers, right? The ava tumah, the aviyavota tumah, the ava tumah, right? It was on a piece of paper that he printed out for us. Exactly. So he said the third, the fourth. Okay, fine. Umutar lechulin u'maaser, and it's going to be permitted for chulin maaser. Okay, these are the words that are being. Chachamim osrim maaser sheni. The Chachamim say it's asur maaser sheni. So therefore, you could come out that the Mishnah that says bikurim is going to be patur from netilat yadayim of maaser sheni is Rabbi Meir. But our Mishnah that says you're going to be chayav, that's Chachamim. But chulin u'chulin, it's still going to be a question. Says the Gemara lakashi, that's not a question. Kam ba'achila, kam benegia. Our Mishnah is talking about you're obligated to do netilat yadayim when you want to eat. When you want to eat bread or you want to eat, then you have to do netilat yadayim. But if you're only touching it, touching does not require netilat yadayim. It's only eating that requires netilat yadayim. So ask the Gemara, you're right. Matkifla Rav Shimi Barashi comes and he asks the following question: when is a machloka between Rabbi Meir and Chachamim only in eating maaser sheni? Because Rabbi Meir says that it's permitted. He's talking about eating. Okay, because there the mashman lashon is mutar lechul maaser, which means you're allowed to eat without netilat yadayim. And if you're just touching, right? He already said eno poselet techulim to maaser. In the braita that the Chachamim are talking about was eating. Aval benigiyah de maaser. But if you're touching maaser or you're eating of chulin, maybe bemet there's no machloke whatsoever, and everybody holds that you don't need to do netilat yadayim. So don't tell me that our Mishnah that obligates netilat yadayim for chulin is talking about eating. Maybe that's not true. So says the Gemara, you're right. Ela idi v'idi ba'achila. Really, bemet, our Mishnah is only talking about eating. Ve'la kasher is still not a question. Kan ba'achila denama, kan ba'achila de payday. It all depends whether you're eating bread. So bread, you're obligated netilat yadayim, right? Even though it's chulin. And here we're talking about fruits or anything else, which does not require netilat yadayim. Rav Nachman, no? Which one?
Unless it's wet. No?
Yes, that's something else. Yes. Rav Nachman, Rav Nachman comes and he says, Kol hanotel yadav leperot. If you're going to do netilat yadayim to eat fruits, you're a haughty person. Like you think you're holier than thou. You're gasei aruach. Okay, nekuda. Now we're going to continue. We're not going to write time. Tell yadav. If somebody does netilat yadayim, if we said if you have the kavanah, right, then yadav teorot. If you did not have kavanah, so then your yadav are tameot. They're tameh. The same lacha applies if you do tevilat yadayim. If you put your hands into a mikveh, need kaven yadav teorot. If you had kavanah to become pure, so then your hands are pure. If you did not have kavanah, they're not going to be pure. Tanya, we learned in a writer, it's always going to be tahor. Nachman said, that's not a question. Kan lechulin, kan lemaaser. One is talking about for chulin, and one is talking about maaser.